What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some tips to hopefully help you stop losing to cars in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 3. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what you think of the car combat this season and how much of an emphasis it has on the gameplay. And the first piece of advice is to just not play in Season 3. If you really do not like the cars, this season is probably not going to be for you until they kind of make some changes. Also, I'm making this very early on in the season, so there's likely going to be items that come to the game to combat the cars that I can't talk about right now. The first thing is going to just be to use mobility, the most notably the nitro glove. I see a lot of players that really struggle to fight against cars. They kind of see a car, that fight is happening, and they're of the mindset that this is a fight that is happening until the death, and that they're just fighting the car and they go all in on it. And there's times where that will definitely work, and where, you know, you do really want to try to focus the car, maybe eliminate the driver, eliminate the gunner, whatever. But in general, you're probably going to need to like weaken the car over time and whittle the car down over time and like constantly reset the fight until they leave you alone, get distracted by somebody else, or you do get a really good opening. So the nitro gloves are really good for this because they allow you to get off the ground and travel around quickly. You don't have to worry about getting hit by the car, and it's way more difficult for the gunner to hit you. If you are going to use your nitro gloves just to travel around the map, like let's say you're not in a fight at all, I would highly recommend trying to keep a charge or two unused. That way you can react to a situation if something does happen. Also, if you're in a situation where you're like dealing with a car, I think it's best to try to use the gloves to travel in ways that the cars can't, because you can go in the air, you know, you can get on top of buildings, you can get on top of mountains easily. They might have to go around a certain way. I'll have a clip on screen now where we're kind of in this ditch area in the desert, and the car is chasing me, and instead of just continuing to travel in a straight line where the car can chase me and then eventually, you know, deal with me once my charges are out, I dash up the cliff in a way where the car has to go all the way around to get to me. And then when they finally do get to me, I just go back across the cliff the other way. And it just takes them so much longer to get to me than it does for me to get away, because of the fact that my gloves travel in air and their car doesn't, you know? You can also change direction in air very easily, which is something that can throw car users off. The pickaxe trick has been a thing in Fortnite for as long as cars have been a thing, I think. And it still does work this season. There's just some inconveniences with it. The pickaxe trick is when you get into a car, you swing your pickaxe as you get into the car, and you keep the pickaxe button held the entire time. You do not release the swing button. You just keep that button held. You get in the car while you're swinging, and then you look at the person in the car you want to damage with the pickaxe. And this still does work in Season 3. It's just somewhat of a struggle versus some of the cars, because it doesn't work if you get into a driver's seat of a car. You need to be in a passenger seat, and it doesn't work if you get into a turret seat of a car. And so the two-seater mythic cars, you can't do the pickaxe trick to. But the G-Wagons that are on the map, the mythic G-Wagon, I guess, the one that has a grenade launcher, the pickaxe trick will work if you're not in a turret. And then even the whiplashes in regular cars, if they don't have a turret on the car, you can do the pickaxe trick to them. It's just the mythic two-seater cars, it's where it really struggles. So getting this down and taking advantage of it when the opportunities present itself, I think is very useful this season, because it's not only the mythic cars that are prevalent in Season 3. I think the reason why a lot of people don't enjoy this season is it's like car fight after car fight after car fight. You finally eliminate the mythic one, and then you have another car fight and another car fight and another car fight. You know, everyone is using these cars. So even if you do get the mythics out of the game, you still have to deal with it. So I think taking advantage of the pickaxe trick when the time calls for it is going to be very useful to you. The boom bow, or whatever it's called, the crossbow that explodes, is good at dealing with the cars. The splash damage to the players inside seems really inconsistent. Not really sure what it is. I'll have a clip on screen now where I'm shooting it like next to the person and it's only getting 4 damage. It seems like the mythic constantly gets 4. But even still, you would expect it to be more splash damage when it's this close to them. I'm not really sure if it's bugged or what. But even like disregard damage to the player inside, the bow does good damage to the cars. It does about like 250 or so. And this combined with your gloves is going to be really good at griefing the cars, because you can, you know, dash somewhere, maybe on a building or a mountain, shoot a few arrow shots, reload, dash to another spot, shoot a few arrows and reload. Like, it allows you to consistently get damage and chip that damage in over time. So this bow is a decent counter to the cars. It's not as good against the cars as I would like to see it be, but it is very useful to have. And if you are in a situation, you know, where maybe you see some cars fighting off in the distance and you can just kind of like third party it and grief the cars over time with the bow. I found a lot of success doing that this season if you do want to get rid of the cars. Also, just shooting them with your gun works quite well. I'm surprised how few people I see just like mag dumping the cars. I'll have a clip on screen now. This green Warforged magazine did 910 damage to the car, one mag. And the mythic 2-seater cars have 1600 health. So 900 damage is a good amount, right? Obviously, you're not going to hit every shot. Not every shot is going to be an ideal range, but I was just trying to show that like the ARs can do consistent damage to the cars if you know, shoot them. I think a lot of people just kind of get some sort of like paralysis with the cars or whatever, and they just end up doing nothing for a prolonged period of time. But anytime you can grief these cars, it's probably going to benefit you. Another thing that can be helpful against the cars is the battle bus EMP. If you honk the horn of the battle bus, it will deploy an EMP, which will stop the cars and damage the shield of the players inside. Unfortunately, the turret still works when you do this, but it makes the car's life more inconvenient. So taking advantage of the battle bus can be pretty helpful. You'll usually find these just driving around the map, especially if the bosses are on patrol. They'll usually have a battle bus with them. That's one of the easier ways to eliminate the boss and get the boss car for free, is just kind of clear the battle bus, use the battle bus to EMP the boss car, and then use the turret of the boss car to actually eliminate the boss. The nitro fists, not only are they good at traveling around the map, you can also use them to damage the car and damage the players inside if you do hit them with it. If you do like the downward strike on them, you can get damage. I'll have a clip of it on screen now. This is one of those things that I wouldn't want to force. You know, I talked earlier in the video about how I feel like people force the fight with the car too much. I wouldn't want to just actively be trying to do this, but in a situation where it presents itself and maybe you're in the air and you have a decent angle to just like dive down and hit them with the glove, that could be a decent opening to the fight, or maybe a decent like way for you to finish the fight, if that works. But trying to go for this actively can be rough, because if the cars hit you, they're going to do a good amount of damage if they have a cow catcher or the spiked barrier on them. And you can also uppercut the cars as well and kind of send it flying and potentially flip it over, and then the players are forced to get out. Another thing you can do, this is going to be more of like a solos thing, I feel like, is you can get in the car with them. And this, you have a lot of options here. If you get in the turret seat, you're just kind of at the mercy of what they do, but you can maybe like shoot at other cars while they drive you around. But if you get in the driver's seat while the other player is on the turret, which will happen a decent amount, like I said, in solos, because it's only one player per team. If you have the driver's seat, you have control of the situation. You know, you can drive to somewhere that really sucks for the car. You know, you could drive them in a storm. You can drive them off a cliff and get out. You can drive them like off the map into the water and get out. Or you could try to drive in such a way and then get out and shoot them. This could be pretty dangerous to do. And I feel like if you're trying to force it, again, it's going to be rough. But if you're in a situation where you're driving and they're in the gunner and you think they're distracted, like maybe they're shooting at a different fight, you can get out, start shooting them. If you have a Warforged AR, Thunderburst SMG, you can get a lot of damage really quick just hitting those headshots. But I think trying to do this multiple times is rough, because as soon as you do it one time, like as soon as you get out and start shooting them once, they're probably going to be very aware that you're trying to do that and then just shoot you as soon as you get out with the turret. But if the turret user is distracted with something else, or you don't think they're very good or what, then maybe you could just get out of the car and beam them real quick, especially if you know they're weak. Like if you did damage to them already and then you like jump in the driver's seat, you drive a little bit and then you just get out right away before they're able to like get their overshield back, or maybe just as they're getting their overshield back, it could be an easier elimination for you for sure. But like I already said, trying to force this and do it multiple times over and over again is where it's going to be most difficult or dangerous for you, because once you do it once, they know you're going for it. Any medallion players, I would expect to have a mythic car. There's 3 mythic cars. You get them by opening the garage at the boss POI, or the boss will be driving around in it if you see them when they're on patrol. These cars are very good. They have unlimited nitro. They're fully decked out with attachments. They regenerate health over time. they're insane. And so I would expect the medallion players to use them. It might not always be the case. Like, it might have already got destroyed or they didn't take it or whatnot. But if you have no intel on them, I would expect the medallion players to have the mythic cars. And I think these are really overpowered. So I do try to kind of get rid of them over the course of the game. I will try to see, like, does this medallion player have the car? Can I, third party them if they're in a chaotic situation or whatever? Because if you just leave that problem unattended to, like if you just let them get to the end game for free with the mythic car, it's going to be really hard for you to win the game. A lot of dealing with these cars is like capitalizing on like small windows of time where you can catch them off guard, or maybe you have a good situation to nitro fits them, hit the pickaxe trick, they're weak enough to where you can kill it with the bow, like if it's an ideal situation for the car, it's rough for you. So I would try to get rid of these mythic cars over the course of the game, and you can usually know where they are because they have the medallions, and that's how you get the boss cars. Unfortunately, one of the biggest components of dealing with cars in this game, like a lot of what I just touched on, it can work, but it's very situational. One of the biggest components is just going to be to use cars yourself, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like the gameplay of this season, or why the people who don't like it, because it feels like twisted metal at times, and you might enjoy that and have fun, but for people who want to play, gun on gun Fortnite, player versus player, the amount of car fighting going on this season is a lot. So using cars yourself can be one of the better ways to deal with the other cars, unfortunately. Obviously, in team game modes, this gets a lot easier because you can have someone drive and use the gunner seat at the same time. But I think if you are in the situation, try to drive in such a way where they don't have view of your windshield. If y'all are just driving head on at each other, then the gunners can just gun each other out of the gunner seat, and whichever one does that first is probably going to win the fight. But if you can get in a situation where like maybe you're driving and they're following you, and your gunner can just turn around and shoot their players, but their gunner is going to have a harder time seeing you, I think that's going to make your life a lot easier. Or if you're playing solos and you do the seat swap, kind of drive and boost past somebody and then swap seats and then look back at them. That way they don't have view of your player. And just in general, when you're in these car fights, if you're the turret user, try to hit the players inside. So if you have the ability to shoot the gunner out of the car, that's going to make your life a lot better, because when that player is knocked, they don't have a gunner anymore, and now you basically just win the fight because their damage output is just gone, And then the same is true of the driver. If you eliminate the driver, then the turret's going to be a sitting duck, and then that makes your life easier as well. But it kind of just is a mindset thing. But I think I would rather knock the turret user and just eliminate most of the car's potential for damage whenever possible. And when you're doing this, any cars that don't hit the players inside will usually just hit the car itself, so you'll do damage over time to the car anyways. When you're in these car fights, try to take advantage of any sort of healing crates around the map, the cactus, and nitro, because nitro will make the turrets on the cars shoot faster, and that's one of the reasons why the mythic cars are so OP. They have HP regen and unlimited nitro. And then the healing crates around the map are the crates that are marked with a wrench, and if you pick this up, you fully regen your car's HP immediately. I believe it even regens windows and stuff, so it's really good. And to my knowledge, these repair crates are guaranteed in the spots that they're guaranteed in. I think the car mods switch up, like the spots where they can spawn are constant, but they like what the mod is switches from time to time. The repair crates, I think, are 100% of the time are repair crates. So if you learn where these are and get used to kind of taking advantage of them in a fight, you're driving around anyways. If you're in the area of one, you might as well take it, because it's going to refill your car's HP, which gives you an advantage, but it also denies that advantage to any enemy. So learning where these repair crates are and taking advantage of them consistently in a fight, I think is huge. And then if you're in the desert biome, if you run over cactus, it will heal your car as well as the players inside. So again, getting a little bit of HP on your car can be the thing that turns the tide in that fight, but you also deny the healing ability to the enemies as well, which is good. Also, if your car does have a spiked bumper, boosting and ramming your car into the other car seems to do about like 300 to 500 damage, and I think it will end up doing more if you have nitro. So if you're in these mythic cars with unlimited nitro and spiked bumpers, then taking advantage of that while your gunner is also frying the car and the players inside is good. And that's why I said eliminating the gunner removes most of the car's potential for damage, because the ram does actually work very good, especially if you're boosting. And I would say the biggest thing this season is just try to actively grief and destroy and weaken the cars over the course of the game. I've gotten a lot of comments on videos or shorts or TikToks of people being like, wow, your in game has no cars in it. How did that happen? My in games is just all cars. The reason why is because I was trying my hardest to destroy them over the course of the game, you know? And I think getting rid of the mythic cars as early as possible is huge, or just taking advantage of it yourself to eliminate the other ones makes your life a lot easier. But just getting rid of the cars as often as you can, I think will make it easier for you just to play Fortnite. And even if you like taking advantage of the cars and you have fun using them, then getting rid of the other cars gives you a huge advantage because you're the only one with one. So I would try your hardest to grief the cars over the course of the game. The bow allows you to just chip in shots, but also cars and turrets are a great way to do so. I've been very surprised how many situations I've seen this season where it's just like 8 cars. That's a stretch. It's like 5 or 6 cars just all driving around next to each other doing nothing. And even in solos, like I said, you can swap to the turret seat and get some damage in. If you're just in a car existing near the other cars, what does that really do for you? You know, like I feel like you need to like do damage and eliminate those other cars and not just drive around next to them the entire time. It is bizarre what I've seen while playing this game this season. So try your best to damage the cars over time and get rid of them. That way you have an easier time playing the game if you do want to just play on foot. But I think just playing on foot is not preferred this season. I would highly recommend taking advantage of the cars. I do not really prefer the car v car nature of the game myself. Like I like the gun on gun gameplay. If I wanted to play Twisted Metal, I would play Twisted Metal, but this is just kind of the meta is what it is and the game is what it is right now. So that is my thoughts on, you know, playing against cars and beating cars this season. I think it's a lot harder for people to be a passenger, not in the sense of a car, but just somebody who exists on the map and waits to end game and then third party slots fight. If you just do nothing all game, it's pretty likely a lot of cars are going to make it in game and it's going to be harder for you to play Fortnite. But that is going to be it for this video. Hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. As always, if you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.